Yes, 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 yes. This is beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are going to talk with an award-winning writer, artist, photographer, and BDSM journalist, and a friend. Not only the show, but a friend of mine. Writer to writer. This is going to be a good one. But before I begin, I must say that everything we talk about is about a lifestyle, sensual lifestyle. We're adults. And this is for adults, it's by adults, and it's role play. Most of us play fictional characters. Everything is safe, sane, and consensual. Please do not judge. Please take inventory. Just don't judge. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your kinky friend. So, I am at Mr. Smith, right? Hi, Dirk Hooper. So, check this out. I'm at Mischief Manor. I'm preparing for this show that we have. YKF is having a show. Kink helps kink. How kink enhanced your life, how kink saved your life, and how kinky people help other kinky people. That's the main thing. And in the middle of the show, I'm planning a book review. So I need to practice for the show, right? So I take all of the, I take this bag, which was made by Edwin from the Bowery Art Collective, and I take all the books from YKF, all of them. And there are a lot. I didn't realize how much they were until I had to go through them, right? So Sunshine lies down on the spanking bench. Her ass is beautiful. So, and she's wearing all black thigh-high stockings, and even her ass is in panties, beautiful, silky, beautiful, just very beautiful. I'm at a loss for words. I call myself a writer. Yeah. So crowd and other things are going on. We have suspension with Brisket doing something with suspension. We have some people doing other things. St. Andrew's Cross. Then it was a nice night. So I'm practicing what I'm about to do on the show, which is the book review. So I take a book like yours. Well, yours is one of them. And I like Dominatrix Boss by Asher Lake, aka Dirk Hooper. It's a wonderful story about Tim in his corporate life, and I could go on the story a little bit. Just I'm practicing. I'm getting ready for the show. Keep it tight, and then I spank her. And you'd be surprised. Dominatrix Boss is a great book to spank to, and I'll tell you why, Dirk. It's the power of your words. It's the angle. It's the thickness. It's just thick enough so it doesn't hurt someone. You know what I mean? And you can really get in there too, even on the thighs, or you know what I mean. The size. This
good to know. Yeah, good to know.
Right, like if you know what I'm talking about, it's this peace spot. It just brings me to the whole world, right? So yeah, as soon as you just kind of inspire it with your book, what really works well. Wow, your kinky friends, and this shameless plug. This is maybe because it was my book and I was having a lot. I really feel passionate about it. Yeah, this book made some really wonderful noises from myself. Yes, so Dominatrix Boss. Get it even just to spank someone with. Either read it. It's beautiful. Dirk Hooper, thank you for being here. We are your kinky friends. Please go to yourkinkyfriends.com, get 15% off all inventory at Locked and Lost. Dirk Hooper has a new book out called Dominatrix Squad. We're going to talk all about it, but first, let's just get into it. Dirk, what's inspiring you these days?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a tee up to talk about Dominatrix Squad, right?
Yes, inspiring book.
The Dominatrix Squad is the sequel to Dominatrix Boss. It's about double the size. It has probably 3 times the characters. It's a passion project of mine. The first book I did kind of as an experiment. The second book I did with a lot of intention, and a lot of, everything that I learned along the way of writing the first book, I put into the second book. And I'm really happy with the way that it came out. And I'm excited to talk about it.
Writing a second book is a unique experience, emotional, professionally, artistically.
Yeah.
I find that so I wrote 3 books as Nick was telling. The first one is almost written in a manic romantic state of mourning and loss, right? I wanted a lot of the faults to be left in, the mistakes to be left in, because it adds to it. It adds to the energy. And then through time, I wrote Chip Black Nail Polish, but I wrote this, and I'm very proud of this, of the style of writing and everything. It's because not only did we work hard on it, but so much more thought of and knowledge of how people could react to it. You know what I mean? And so did that play in writing a second book? Because it's not just like taking new stories. You're taking Ava and Tim, and you're making a new thing, do new things, new emotions, stuff like that. So how do you write a second book?
Yeah, in some ways it's easier because you've established the characters, you've established the world that they're in.
Yes.
When I was writing the first book, about 80% through the book, the first book is kind of it's a fever dream. It's really meant to be, read quickly. It's meant to be, it's meant to really it's like a thriller. If a thriller was erotic, it's meant to get you wrapped up in it and drive you towards the conclusion of the book. While I was writing the book, I realized that I had more here. I had a lot more I wanted to say about these characters, not just this short kind of novel. And so I started, even at that time, kind of putting things in there to build the world out a little bit more to set up the next story. And in the second book, while I was writing the second book, I went back and re-released the first book, and I put things in the first book that I didn't put in there when I started, like the name of the city that they're in, and the name of the company that they work for, and a bunch of other things. And I created a map, and I did all of these things for the purpose of setting up this world. So in one case, writing a sequel was easier because I had laid the groundwork. I don't have to create the characters. I don't have to create the scenario. I don't have to answer these questions. The world building it's never done. If you're going to write another book, you got more world building to do. But in general, the world was set up, and the characters' personalities and so on. What was more difficult about the second book is that it's more complex. It's got more of a plot. There are a lot more characters that you're following. All of the characters, really. All of the main characters have character arcs. So while I had basically 2 characters with 2 character arcs in the first book, I have more characters in there, and I'm not just setting up this book, Dominatrix Squad. I'm setting up what comes next. So I leave certain things open-ended, and I introduce things that are specifically designed to be dealt with at a later time. Or I allude to things that, sets me up later to do stuff. In addition to that, they were written 5 years apart. I did a lot of research as a writer on how to write books.
So experience in the BDSM community.
That too.
It's wild that how the BDSM community educates you fast. You know what I mean? So, and it changes you fast, and it you evolve quick in it.
Yeah.
Has that had an effect on your writing?
Yeah, I mean, particularly with these two books, I mean, it's everything. You know, I mean, I've been in the BDSM community for 30 years. So, you know, everything that I put into this is shaded and shadowed and illuminated and whatever by my experience in BDSM. And
So
I mean,
let me
that's
ask you
really
this.
what made me want to write Dominatrix Boss in the first place, is because my experience in BDSM and comparing it to what was being written out there, particularly in the realm of femdom fiction.
Now, this is a positive show. We're going to keep it positive, but I do just want to know something. You have 30 years experience in the BDSM community. You are an award-winning writer, artist, photographer, and BDSM journalist. How does it make you feel when you see these people writing garbage? That could be unsafe.
I mean,
that could be just bad.
I'm also a BDSM mentor, and I have written over that 30 years nonfiction articles about the subject of BDSM. I'm currently a contributor to the BDSM Training Academy. I just finished a 6-article series on protocols. So I'm not just, you know, casually into this. I mean, I don't know if I would call myself an expert, but
Look,
I would say that with 30 years of experience and with, you know, contributing to the community as I have, you know, writing both nonfiction and fiction, you know, I have a very good perspective on what the BDSM community is and particularly what a BDSM relationship entails. And, you know, I'm a man with a particular set of skills, and, you know, I read stuff that's out there, particularly stuff, you know, from, you know, you got to realize that I started writing Dominatrix Boss in 2013. I will say that, yeah, it was 12 years ago. I will say that femdom fiction has improved since then. And you know, there are people who are writing femdom fiction that are very good. But
who do you like? Who do you want to use
Irv O'Neill has been around since the beginning of time. Irv O'Neill, I read his short stories in Leg Show magazine in the 90s with illustrations by Sardax. Right?
Sardax.
I mean,
Sardax is amazing.
Like long ago, Irv O'Neill was writing femdom fiction. In addition to that, one of my author friends goes by the name Thimble, and his stuff is really, really good too. And I you ever
pick up people on Literotica, like with your words, with your stories. You get like people coming in and be like, "Oh, Dirk, I loved what you wrote."
On Literotica, I just started something on Literotica. Actually, I haven't posted anything on there yet, but you know, it occurred to me that Literotica might be a great place to you know, reach a crowd that doesn't even know that I exist. So what I'm probably going to start doing is writing short stories, or maybe a series, like you know, put chapter by chapter of some stuff on Literotica, and see if I can, you know, lead them to my work. But yeah, no one's contacting me from Literotica. Now people contact me through, you know, FetLife and social media and, you know, everything else. I mean, I talk to people all the time.
I kind of said the Literotica thing as a joke because the editor of my book, of my books, and then the woman that did the cover, right? She wrote a book about us writing, about like us putting together, producing, and promoting. You know, it's a beautiful love story. And it's funny that it's a very personal love story. And she, let's just say, she did well on Literotica. She would write and it
Yeah.
would like pick up people. It was great. So let's get into Dominatrix Squad. All right, Dominatrix Squad. Can you give us a quick intro into Ava and Tim?
Yeah, I mean, in the first book, the setup for them kind of being together is that she is a vice president of a large financial firm. Ava, that's Ava, and Tim works for her. Now, before the first book, Dominatrix Boss, she had a really rough divorce, and they became friends where they would go out to eat, and she would confide in him, and they became friends. And then she, over that period of time, she was having a rough time, and she kind of let herself go. And then she started, exercising, and she got she got laser surgery on her eyes, and she kind of blossomed again. She kind of found herself, and then they stopped hanging out so much together. Well, Tim still kind of had a thing for her, even back before she, glowed up. But she was still his boss. He was looking at Femdom porn on his computer, which is not a good idea at your place of work. No, and she calls him into the office, her office, and says, Tim, I could, let you go for this alone. Your work's been off a little bit lately, but the biggest thing is you're using company computers here to look at porn, and that's expressly, obviously against the rules. And then she says, maybe I'll let this go if you will massage my feet. And so right there in her office, they kind of have their first scene. And she is unfamiliar with the world of, female domination. She doesn't really know anything about it, but she sees, she knows what's going on because she has all that stuff printed out, and she's obviously pretty curious about it. It's written from the perspective of Tim. So he thinks that, that he doesn't realize that she's playing with him a little bit there. He's just thinking, I don't want to lose my job.
The beautiful thing about this book on how it evolves, but then something else happened. They level up. Ava really levels up in with Empress Kina mentoring her.
Yeah, that's
inspired the idea
in the second book. So
yeah.
Let me kind of wrap up the first book.
Okay. I don't give it away. I don't think to buy the book too.
No, that's fine. I'm not going to give anything away. What it does is it recounts what happens to them because she gets a little education. He sends her to someone that she talks to on the internet that tells her how to dominate him. And for the next 2 or 3 weeks, they go through an experience together, and they both find that they enjoy it. So that's the end of the first book. And the second book picks up literally 1 week after the first book. And what Ava wants to do is level up. She wants to, everything that she's learned in the first book has been through talking to people on the internet and studying stuff and in playing with Tim. And so she's like, I have found that this is not just something that I enjoy. This is something that is a part of me. I wish, it empowers me. I very much don't just want to know about it. I want to be the best at it. I want to be great at domination. So what she does in the second book is takes them to a play party at a local group, and she meets Empress Kina. Now, Empress Kina is in her late 40s and extremely wealthy. And what she does is she plays with a stable of slaves. And she basically just lives in her house, and she lives and breathes BDSM all day long. She lives it. And she instantly takes to Ava when they go to the play party. And she says, why don't you come over and visit my house? And, if you want to learn more, I will teach you more. I'll teach you about the world of BDSM. I have plenty of people to play with, and you can learn, you can learn anything that you want to learn here. And this book is very much about her learning how to do BDSM as a dominant better, and about Tim learning about what this relationship means to him, because he kind of has a lot of what he wants previously, like he's getting to play with someone that he's very attracted to and everything else, but he has it in his mind that he wants a certain aspect of their relationship. And the book is about kind of challenging that.
There are a lot of themes of surrender, power struggles, and the cost of desire, right? So
yeah,
let me ask you this: Do you see Ava and Tim's story as a cautionary tale, a love story, or both?
Oh yeah, it's both, absolutely. And let me take a step back and say, a lot of times people who are in the community look at BDSM fiction, and they want the characters to be fully realized on page 1. They want them to be the perfect person in the perfect relationship, doing perfect things in BDSM. But the problem with that is that's boring. Can I cuss?
Yes, you can cuss.
It's boring as fuck. It's boring as fuck. If on page 1 you have fully actualized people that are in the perfect relationship and are doing perfect BDSM, you have no story. There's no story there. Instead, what I have are very flawed people who are having a very flawed relationship and are not doing BDSM right. And the story is them figuring that out.
Yes. And so, as a reader, you figure it out with them.
Yes, you learn through the course of them learning. And you learn why, because from reading this story, some of the dangers that you get into when you do certain things, or that you have the wrong idea about how things should happen. None of us are perfect. Look, I don't care. Indiana Jones is not perfect. It's much more interesting when Indiana Jones makes a mistake and he has to fix it. That's what makes a good story. And so that's one of the things that brought me to the table as a writer, is to explore this sort of thing. You ask whether it's a cautionary tale. Yes, it is. Is it a love story? Yes, it is. And that was one of the issues. That was one of my major issues, maybe the major issue on why I wrote the first book in the first place, is because there was no relationships or romance in the femdom fiction that I was reading. Now, keep in mind, this was, 12, 15 years ago. I've been reading femdom fiction, as much as I could since I was maybe 13 years old. And Exit to Eden had a relationship in it, but that's the only book that I can think of. Most femdom fiction has the dom who lives her life and the submissive who lives his life, and they have scenes together. There are scenes where they get together and they do things together, and then they go about their own separate ways, and they live the rest of their lives. Dominatrix Squad and Dominatrix Boss is about a relationship.
Yeah. That's what's cool about it, because now let me ask you this. Do you think femdom fiction affected the way you view relationships? Reading femdom fiction, has it affected the way you interact in a good or bad way?
No. I would say that, the only thing, it just affected it just inspired me to be a writer. It didn't affect my relationship because by the time I was reading that stuff, I already had my own thoughts about this sort of thing. And it's like no one is writing about the sort of stuff that I dealt with. I mean, the femdom fiction that I was reading didn't ring true to me because I was in relationship. People are watching this. They don't know what my background is, but I've been both dominant and submissive over the 30 years. I've been in both dominant and submissive relationships. So I happen to have a unique perspective on both of those roles. And I also know for a fact that, having a relationship and being in love and that sort of thing is very much a part of my experience. And so I didn't want to read stories that didn't include that. And by all means, read whatever you want, play however you want, whatever you want to do. It's just, for me, I wanted the romance, the relationship to actually be part of the story I was reading. And so I wrote it.
That's why I enjoyed the book, because that's what I mean, as not only as a writer, but just as someone, as me, I love the romance of it all. I love the romance of femdom. I think femdom can be an extremely romantic lifestyle.
But if you read femdom fiction, it is predominantly not romantic.
Exactly, I know, and that was that's why I enjoy your book. And at first, one may look at the book and just say, "Oh, it's just like some fantasy." It's more than that, right? It's more than just like masturbation material or stuff like that. It's much more than that. It touches
I hope so.
Relationships. And and especially someone who's living in an FLR, in a female-led relationship now. Who, I mean, I'm locking chastity and wearing garter belts and stockings now, right? So as to serve my queen, right? So it does happen. It does exist. It can be successful. It can be heartwarming. It can be life-changing.
Of course.
Beautiful way, and it can affect others in a beautiful way. And that's what you're trying to capture. I mean, because it's realistic in a way. I mean, is it fiction? 100%, but still,
yeah.
But still, all right. Your book,
but it's informed by, my own experiences and my own education and whatever. So it is fiction.
And you know what?
But it's
fiction and fantasy.
There is some reality in it.
God is here. If you think about it, kink, that's what got us in the kink community, is fiction and fantasy, is using your mind, right? Kinking something, changing it a little, fantasizing about it, desire. That creativity is all the foundation of the kink community. It's funny, when I was in the hospital, I said this before, but I had this romantic vision where I would meet a woman, I'd fall in love and have this beautiful relationship of writing but a real femdom relationship of romance, not of just nothing with humiliations. That's not my gig. It's not my thing, right? So it's possible for those out there. Femdom relationships are not just about getting cucked or being humiliated or degraded or being degraded in some way. Anyways, okay. Speaking of that, your book contains intense elements of humiliation, chastity, and foot worship. Now, I like to play this fun game on the show. If you could choose only one, humiliation, chastity, or foot worship, to write a whole Dominatrix Squad book about, which would you write?
Humiliation. Reason for that, there's several reasons for that. Number one, if you read the first and second book, there's a lot of humiliation in there. So it's integral to this story. Also, we just talked about how other books are out there on this subject. There are very few that are about kind of as much about humiliation as my books are. Humiliation runs throughout the entire deal. That's what gets Tim off. And it's what gets me off. I enjoy it. So it's fun for me to write it. It makes it much easier for me to write that sort of thing because I'm into it. And again, I don't feel like the community, the readers out there, are really being served with humiliation because most of the stuff that's in there is a bunch of other things.
Do you personally like humiliation as a fetish?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so let me ask you this. What do you think? How do you react to bad reviews?
Yeah, I want to make a very a great distinction between between liking humiliation within the consensual female domination relationship and liking humiliation while I'm walking down the street minding my own business. Those are two very different things.
Very different things.
If someone, if a dude wants to humiliate me in public, he might find my fist in his face. That's not a kink. That's not a kink. But in the context of a relationship, when you have, consent and you have talked about these things, then that is something that is, it's rare and it's difficult to find someone who knows and understands it and can deliver it and is okay with it on their end. A lot of people on, men and women, anyone who's dominant either doesn't have the experience to do it or doesn't like doing it. They're like, it makes me uncomfortable to say or do these things. Sometimes
what is the most humiliating thing that you've done?
Yeah, well, I don't know if I necessarily am going to say specifically, but let me say this: I've been in a couple of long-term relationships with dominant women, and neither one of them were very good or enjoyed humiliation play. So let me say this. We haven't even scratched the surface, on my own personal experiences. And so what I do is I take, whatever, those scenarios that come through my head and I put them on the page.
Sunshine said, "Good to see you back on the show, Dirk. Dominatrix Boss hit me in such a beautiful way." Nicholas can explain. Yeah, I did explain it. Thank you, Sunshine. You do have a question from Stan Vladimir.
Yep.
Have you read any of the Alien, Predator, or Prometheus comic books?
I've read several of both the Alien. I've read Alien versus Predator from Dark Horse long ago. Marvel has a new version of Alien, and I read at least the first few issues of that. I haven't read any of the Prometheus comics, but I sure as heck am watching the new Alien Earth series, which is excellent. And Predator Prey was excellent. And the Hulu series with Predator, also excellent. Right now,
I didn't see that yet.
The Alien and Predator franchises are in better shape than they have been in 40 years. And maybe better shape almost ever. I mean, you're not going to get better than Alien and Aliens, but we're pretty.
Alien Earth's good.
We're pretty damn close. We're pretty damn close right now. Alien Earth is
a lot deeper than it's ever
firing on all cylinders, and they managed to chew in some stuff that I really, really like in science fiction, namely the transhumanism stuff.
Especially
doing it in a way.
AI.
Absolutely. I mean, it's right there doing everything that's interesting to me. Alien Earth is excellent as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, so your book contains, humiliation and chastity and foot worship, like I said before.
And a bunch of other stuff that I can't list on
Of
Amazon.
course. What can't you list on Amazon?
Yeah, like I mean, I couldn't put like pegging on there. I'm reluctant to put like whipping or
What?
like some of the things because it's
You can sell
could
bullwhips
be
on Amazon.
considered right, but it could be considered violent or whatever. Anyway, there are a lot of things that happen in that book
Yeah,
that I do
yeah.
not list on the
So
description.
all these, let's just take these three: humiliation, chastity, foot
Yeah,
worship.
sure.
What are your personal experiences with these elements of BDSM? Like your personal opinions that you
Yeah, like I said,
have a lot
humiliation
of
huge for me. I've done some foot worship, but it's not really that big a deal. I know that it is a big a deal for a lot of people, which is why I mention it, and it's in there. And chastity, I've had a little bit of experience with, but not a lot.
Speaking of chastity, you can get 50% off all inventory at Locked In Lust with the offer code YKF. YKF. Make sure you put YKF.
By the way,
Yeah.
the Locked in Lust does the specific chastity device that I mentioned in Dominatrix Boss and Dominatrix Squad, and they are both listed in the back of the book.
Nice.
Plus,
Nice.
when I re-released Dominatrix Boss, they did a co-production with me, and they did a they had a giveaway where I gave away a book and they gave away a chastity device to someone who won a contest, which is really cool. So Locked in Lust worked with me as well, and if you're interested in them, they're in the book. They're in both of the books.
Shout out to Locked In Lust, and I highly recommend the crotch rocket. We call it the saddle. Squirt in seconds. It's great. Oh yeah, I'll even. Hey, why not? Right? Yeah. So this is it. The lock chastity device goes here, right? Dildo goes here.
Oh
here.
yeah, okay, very interesting.
Yeah, and she just rides you and tease you at the same time. It's wonderful. Get one for everyone you know.
I've never seen what that's from Locked in Lust.
It's a Locked In Lust. Yeah, here. This is it.
You know what I like about that? I don't have it in my hands, but what I like about that is that a lot of the strap-on devices, they don't allow you to adjust them properly.
Yes.
And that one looks like you can.
Yeah, each one has snaps. So you could totally,
because it's very important that it fits, tight,
yes,
and that it's on you. That's drives me nuts when you have a.
It's a great device.
Yeah.
Now, all right, Dominatrix
cool.
Squad. Tony and Mitzi, you have friends. It's good to have friends. They have friends. They're English friends. They have their own kink journeys. So why did you? I mean, I know why you think it's important too, but how are their journeys different from for everyone else's?
Yeah, it allows me again to kind of expand the world out and give everyone more experience. Like one of the things that I didn't want to do is in anything that I do, because I educate people. I write articles about stuff. I've been a mentor to people. The last thing I want to do is tell you this is the way that BDSM is. You must do BDSM this way. You have to do it my way. I'm the expert, so you have to do it my way. That's the last thing that I want to do. Every time that I write an article and in this book, I give you options on things and tell you that the way that you do BDSM is your experience and your partner's experience. And so, that's okay. The way that you approach BDSM, like I have a friend who's a professional dominatrix, and she likes to suck cock. And there are people that would tell her, well, you're a dom. You can't suck cock because that's a submissive act. That's ridiculous.
The dominatrix.
That's ridiculous. Of course. It's absurd. It's because they have in their mind that you have to do BDSM a certain way. She likes sucking cock. And she likes the reaction that it gets out of the people that she plays with. So it is control. Who the fuck are you to tell other people what to do? So to get back to my story, I present other characters for the purpose of showing you that you can do BDSM different ways. I don't want you to say that BDSM is only the way that Ava and Tim are doing it. And by the way that Ava and Tim do it at the beginning of Dominatrix Boss is not the way that they're doing it by the end of Dominatrix Squad. And it's not the way that they will evolve past that. And the two characters, Tony and Mitzi, are two characters that show another two versions of how to have a BDSM, how to bring kink into your life and how it can be fulfilling even if you don't do certain things. Like Mitzi, for example, is she's a content creator and she's a sweetheart. And so she's not really into impact play and humiliation necessarily. She's more into, other things, which you can kind of see in the book. But I wanted to show a softer side, like soft femdom with her. And then Tony is going to be like, Tony is very intelligent and very driven and very accomplished. And she is going to be less passionate than Ava and more along the lines of being very strict and very much about training submissives in the right way to do things and about service-oriented servitude. And she's also a lesbian. So her partners will be women instead of men. And so, again, it allows me, and by the way, you're looking at the characters. Ava is the blonde and Mitzi is the redhead and Tony is the dark-haired girl in that picture. And they were in the first book as well.
Oh, yes. If Dominatrix Squad were ever adapted into a TV series or film, right? That's like we're talking about Alien Earth and how that's a series.
Right.
All right. So if this was, who would you cast?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm not sure on that. I'd have to think a lot more on that. What I would be most concerned about, rather than the casting, is finding someone to run the show that knows what the hell they're doing and that didn't want to change everything or, improve it or whatever. And I mentioned Exit to Eden earlier. Exit to Eden is a book.
O'Donnell, Dan Aykroyd.
Right.
That's a movie.
Exit to Eden was originally a book that was written by Anne Rice, who is an excellent writer. And she got the relationship between the two main characters in a femdom relationship. She got it very well. She got it correct. When they made the movie, it was made by the guy who did Pretty Woman, who's a good director. And the casting that they did on the two main characters, also good. Dana Delaney was the dom in that book, and in that movie. And I don't know who the extra character, the male main was. I'm not sure if he did much after that. But then they shoehorned in Dan Aykroyd and Rosie O'Donnell, characters who are not in that book. And they did it for the purpose because they thought, we got all this heavy kind of whipping and, domination and all this sort of stuff. What we need is a good comedy element to kind of, smooth this out. And we need a murder mystery to put into this. None of that was in the original book. And so my point of all of that is what I would want from someone who's going to do a movie or a television series is to respect the material. And so the important thing is to make sure that whoever is producing it, whoever the studio is, says, we're going to actually do this book. We're not going to use this and then we're going to shoehorn a bunch of bullshit into it. You know, we're not afraid of the subject matter. We're going to actually do the subject matter. And we're not going to improve it by, you know, not doing the subject. We're going to actually do the book.
One of the questions I had was who would direct, and that made me think of like different style, because Hollywood can get attached to a book, and it can mess up the book. I think of the typical thing is Hank Moody from Californication. He wrote this book called God Hates You All, or God Hates, or something like that. God Hates You, whatever. And then they get the rights of it and they change it to a silly little thing called Love or something like that.
Right.
He goes into drug depression.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know
what would be your absolute nightmare
who is directing
an airplane?
Right. Who is directing, you know, erotic movies now? I don't know. I tell you what, someone is doing someone. Okay. I have someone, the guy who did Saltburn.
Oh yeah.
Is now doing Wuthering Heights.
Oh, get out. Really?
And that's going to be released on Valentine's Day. It seems like that guy at least understands how to do something that's sensual and doesn't shy away from doing, you know, nudity and sex scenes and telling romantic stories,
but also the sinister of it, I think.
So
Saltburn was good. Saltburn really stuck with me. That's great.
So maybe
let's talk about pen names.
Maybe that guy. Yeah, sure.
Let's talk about pen names.
Sure.
Why release Dominatrix Squad series under Asher Lake rather than Dirk Hooper?
Yeah, I mean, there's several main reasons. Some of them are marketing reasons, and some of them are personal reasons. Right now, I am writing a book that is set in the Old West, and it's a dark romance. And I'm going to be releasing that under the name K.D. Hooper. The reason why I'm releasing that under K.D. Hooper is because Asher Lake writes femdom fiction, or maybe BDSM erotica, right?
Yeah.
K.D. Hooper is going to be writing dark romance, and Dirk Hooper, which is my name, would write science fiction and fantasy stuff. So if I was going to write a science fiction or fantasy book, or maybe a comic, I'd put my name on it, Dirk Hooper. But I don't want people who pick up science fiction and fantasy to go, oh, I got to read everything that Dirk Hooper reads or writes, and go off and pick up a dark romance book and be disappointed because there's a different structure to it. And so there is a marketing element. If you're going to pick up Asher Lake, you're going to be getting erotica, or you're going to be getting BDSM or femdom fiction. So there is that element of it. In addition to that, it was the first book I wrote. So by having a pen name, I preserve my own anonymity. I don't have to tell anyone. Remember, I started writing this quite some time ago. I wanted to be able to write the book and write it honestly. So I wanted to put as much as I could into this and not have to worry about, you know, my job finding out about it, or my friends or family or whatever. It gave me some distance between me and the work so that I could write it as honestly as possible.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to worry about people picking it up and going, oh gosh, you wrote this smut here, you know. I didn't have to worry about that. Of course, the cat's out of the bag now, because I had no idea how it would be received. Right.
So as writer to writer, let me ask you this: as writer to writer, how do you approach writing BDSM fiction so it's authentic, rather than fetish checklist poem?
Yeah, I write from the heart. That's the difference. I'm not going on a checklist, and also, I mean, there's two things. Number one, I wrote from the heart, which is exactly why I used a pen name on this thing, is to allow me to write from the heart and not have to worry about the ramifications of my job or family or friends or whatever reading the thing. There are other elements of that as well, though, in that I advocate for the characters in everything that I write. So the characters are there in some ways to serve the plot, but they also advocate for them. I advocate for them and they advocate for themselves. Sometimes I'll put the characters into a scene and they'll be like, this is not the way I would react. So I have a plot that says in this chapter, this character does this. And I get to that point and the character tells me, hey, that doesn't fit me. I wouldn't do that. I'd do something else. And so you have to listen to your characters. You have to advocate for them and make sure that they are true to themselves. And that's the difference between just inserting them into the story and making them do something versus trying to breathe life into them and allowing them to affect how they're portrayed in the story.
You're an accomplished photographer too, fetish photographer, and an artist. So that comes into play when writing, obviously. So do you see your characters visually first before writing them?
Yeah, not when I did Dominatrix Boss, but when I started to plot for Dominatrix Squad, I drew them. I drew the characters. And the way that the characters were drawn for that, the cover, I did the cover. I did the artwork on the cover. I did everything. I did the layout for the cover. I did the layout for the book. I did the editing on the book, and I wrote the book. So the characters, I will draw them while I am creating them. I have a character sheet, and part of that process is to create a visual representation of them. And if it's something where it's a lesser character or I don't have the time, I will go out and I'll find a picture of something and I will use that until I have a chance to draw them. But what that does is that allows me to, I'll give you an excellent example of how that affects things. Kina is the Asian mentor for Ava. And I wrote maybe a third of the book before I drew her. I actually did a painting of her. And what I ended up doing when I painted her is I had a white streak come down her in her hair, which is not something that I wrote about or it was originally what I did. But it seemed like what that would do is kind of show her age a little bit and also be a distinguishing feature, which is something that didn't exist before I painted her. And so by visually creating these characters, it changes the way that I talk about them when I'm writing them. So I would say that my visual aspect, doing my my character, the character creation process, that a fundamental part of that is actually drawing those characters, particularly if they're main characters, because you discover things. Just like if you were creating characters for a video game or something, you discover things in their personality that you represent visually for them. And then you can take those things and put them in the book.
So for the next question, for my books, right? They're real. I got permission to fictionalize them. The people, I went to them and be like, I'm going to write a book. Can I use your real name, or can I fiction it? And if you want me to use your different name, what name do you want me to use? You know what I mean? It makes it better. It makes it real for me, and because that's the obstruction, the artistic obstruction I'm working with, right? But everything you write comes from people, right, that you've met and your experiences, and you have all these experiences. So Empress Kina feels like this archetype, this powerful, iconic dominatrix, right? Was she inspired by someone you photographed or mentored or known?
No, not by anyone in particular, but I really wanted someone who, one of the amazing things that, I work in this industry. I work with I've photographed a lot of professional and lifestyle dominatrices. One of the great things about the BDSM or Femdom industry is that you can be in this for a long time. Where, like, if you're in the porn industry or other aspects, you kind of age out of things. I did an interview and talked on many occasions with a woman who wrote the book Dominatrix on Trial, who is or was a professional dominatrix for like 5 decades. She had a brothel in Canada and has a fascinating story, by the way. It's called Dominatrix on Trial. She was when I talked to her, she was in her 70s, and she was still practicing daily as a professional dominatrix. So my point, what I'm getting at is with Empress Kina, is that she's older than the rest of the cast, but she is very much in the prime of her life, and very much also very sexy. And I wanted to make sure that people knew that, what the television and movies will tell you is that, all professional dominatrices or all lifestyle dominatrices are in their 20s or 30s. I want them to know that that's not the case, that, you can still very much be powerful and sexy and in the prime of your life in your 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s and whatever. And so that's so she's an amalgam of all of those lifestyle and professional dominatrices who are killing it in their 50s and 60s and so on.
Now there's a lot of dark elements to it, dark romance, right? BDSM fiction. People are concerned.
Yeah, it gets pretty dark. I call
some people are like really concerned about, like, it blurs the line between what's safe, what's not safe, stuff like that. In your kinky friends, there is a consensual rape scene. There's this chapter called Baseball. It's a rape role play thing. Like, they're setting up, and basically she forces me, she talks me into like trying to do this, and it's actually kind of funny. I personally think it's very sexy, but it's also a very fun, interesting, kinky way to look at the whole thing. And one of the things is that, so there's choking and there's a belt and there's like, it gets wild. And then at the end of it all, after, she comes and stuff like that. That was great. Next time we'll use knives, and we realized there's no safe word, and that was totally irresponsible. I was worried about putting that in, but I thought it was important to the story because it was real and stuff like that. And I write that there's this about that we should have had a safe word, But do you? Let me ask you this: how do you approach that responsibility as a writer?
There is explicit consent that's set up, particularly in Dominatrix Boss. I mean, they get together and they talk to each other, and Tim lays out exactly what he wants. So I made sure that consent was in there. But one of the issues that these two are having over these first two books is something that people need to be aware of, and that is not just speaking as their roles. So they never talk to each other. Once they get going, Ava and Tim never talk to each other as Ava and Tim anymore. They only talk to each other in their roles. And so therefore, there's not a lot of checkup on how are you doing? You know, what's going on here? There's not a lot of aftercare. It's really one of the elements that I'm exploring in these two books is that they're not doing that.
Mm.
And I explore that for the reason that I mentioned before, is that makes for an interesting story. I'm teaching the audience through reading the book. Through reading the book, you're like, well, if they had just sat down and talked about some of these things, they could have mitigated some of these issues, right? Well, they're both, Tim's not as new to BDSM as Ava is, but they're both kind of ignorant about what you're supposed to be doing. They're operating without the nets that you're supposed to have. They're totally consensual. They're consenting on both ends, but they're not talking like they should. So yes, I am concerned about that as a writer and as someone who teaches people, which is why in the back of both of the books, I put resources in there and I say, hey, if you're intrigued by this and you want to know more, here's some places that you can go to. And I put it in both of the books because I'm not answering all of these questions within the context of the stories. And I can't because, again, it doesn't make for much of a story if they already know all of these things. I'm teaching them over the course of the books. So the way that I dealt with that, and by the way, that there's a lot of stuff that does actually happen at the end of Dominate. Again, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but there's a lot of discussion that takes place in the last few chapters of Dominatrix Squad, which are very much about educating people about a number of things. But that's not a replacement for actually doing the research. You got to do research on this stuff. And I give resources in the back of both of the books on both Femdom and BDSM in general. By the way, I mentioned this podcast right here in the book. So that people who are interested can start watching these episodes and they can start getting a feel for what real BDSM is from people who are really doing it. And realize that if you're going to play in BDSM, there are only a few actual rules. One is consent, and one is that you have to, well, I'll give you the rules. One is consent. The second rule is that you have to talk to your partner, not just in your roles. You have to talk to them as your partner, outside of your roles, and allow each other to speak frankly. So there's your second rule. And the third one is that you have to educate yourself in what the hell you're doing. You must educate yourself. It's not enough to just go, hey, I'm kinky, let's start doing some shit. You have to, all of this is dangerous, potentially, both physically and mentally. So you have to do your homework. You must do it. And it can't just be the dominant that is required to do the homework. Both partners or all the if you have 5 people involved, whatever, everyone has to do their own homework on this stuff, and they have to bring something to the table. You can't be ignorant and do this stuff. You have to know how to do things.
You have to educate yourself. You have to educate yourself to be a better person in general, not just in BDSM, but just
you should be doing, absolutely. You should be doing that in whatever relationship, whatever your relationship is. If you're in a vanilla relationship, you should also be doing these things, by the way. But particularly in a BDSM relationship.
What do you want kinky readers to take away from Dominatrix Squad?
Many things. I want them to understand what goes into a BDSM relationship from both ends. I want people to realize that even if you're not in control of the relationship, if you're the submissive partner, that you are responsible. Even if the dominant is responsible for you, you are also responsible for yourself. You have to advocate for yourself. I want people to take away that aftercare is very important. And I also want people to take away that separation from the dominant is torture. It is a punishment. Separation is punishment. And I also, did I mention this? I want people to take away that love is a part of BDSM.
Without a doubt, love is,
because a lot of people say that it's not, and it's perfectly fine if you want.
You can live that way. I don't want to live that way.
Absolutely. If you just want to have encounters with people and then they go their separate way, or whatever. If it's just a kinky thing that you do on the weekend, that's perfectly fine. But for me, and for, I would say predominantly for most people, love is definitely an aspect of BDSM.
So we can expect more books in the Dominatrix Boss series, correct?
Sure. The second book is very much a tee off for not just more books in the Dominatrix Boss series, but also set in the. I have it's set in a city that's that I call Liberty, which doesn't exist. I created the town. Mm. Liberty is one of those towns like Springfield, where there's a bunch of them in the United States. And so, but this Liberty is a town that I created specifically to write stories in. And I set up a lot of stuff for not just Tim and Ava, but also other people who live in that town for sequels or short stories.
Soundtrack. At the end of my books, I put a soundtrack. And I put a soundtrack kind of for OCD purposes and cinematic purposes, because when I write the chapters, when I write the drops, I call them drops. When I write each drops, I play the song over and over and over again while I'm writing it to capture the energy and the theme. So if Dominatrix Squad had a soundtrack, what are the top 3 songs you think would be on there?
I cannot remember. There was a CD that I used to play all the time when I was in when I played scenes. It was like the CD that I played. It's about, it was about an hour long, and I would just play it on a loop. I am not going to be able to remember that right now, but I'll come up with it later. It would be great if it was that stuff, which is kind of a techno world music type stuff, and very hypnotic and also kind of religious, in some ways. There was it was kind of spacey, weird music. I think that would be really cool for a Dominatrix Squad soundtrack, is something kind of along those lines. I wish I could remember the name of the CD.
Everybody go pick up Dominatrix Boss and Dominatrix Squad.
There's the book, by the way.
They're great book. Yeah.
There it is. It's the writer's copy, so it has it's not the resale, but I'll be getting my own version here soon.
All right, now we're gonna get whimsical. All right, I was thinking about what you're doing and having fun and with something. That's what I wanted to do. So I was thinking, I don't really see that much femdom horror out there. So hypothetically, you like, stuff. I was thinking of this. Let's write something right now, right here. Okay. Let's be whimsical. All right. Femdom horror. I saw the movie Weapons, right? Zach McGregor from The Whitest Kids You Know did a movie called Weapons. And
I have not seen that.
all right. So just so you know, it's about a bunch of kids who go disappearing. And, basically the gist of it is weaponizing human beings. It's spoiler alert. It's about a witch who puts spells on people and weaponizes people.
Interesting.
Great. So what if there was a dominatrix witch that did that and weaponized their subs, not just the subs, but the sissies, the gimps, the event promoters, the poets, the podcasters, all of them. And what hell would break loose? Then there would be a good dominatrix, right? It'd be like a good dominatrix with the good, people like us at the Mischief Manor. We're decent people, right? So we got to fight the tyranny. So then it becomes symbolic, right, of good versus evil.
Sure.
And also kind of what's going on in the world today, the bullies and the mind control and everything like that. Where can we go from there? What should we call that?
Yeah, I think I don't know necessarily what to call that, but what that idea brings up to me, kind of thinking about it, is allowing you to kind of get either societal or political and look into control, manipulation and control, and how a bad person will use those powers for greedy purposes or for things to help them out. And then a good person might use it to help people or to make them better people.
And we start out with like a sissy just takes a dildo and just kills someone, like beats up to death, or does something like, what can we do? We can make like some weird we can think of fun ways to do things. Yeah, I mean, if ideas for femdom horror.
Yeah, I mean, I would think it would be maybe something like The Happening, where you can make people do things that are weird, that is humiliating or whatever, and then they jump off a cliff or they kill themselves some way that's gruesome, because they're being controlled and they're forced into doing these things or something. But being, if you're going to do BDSM, also put kind of that element in there as well to make it actual femdom.
And Nico Noir gets evil and makes people make manginas on themselves, or
right,
or to make manginas of other people, just staples.
Right, or walk naked through Times Square.
Mistress Claudia, the toilet coffin. Oh, I don't even want to go there. All right, Stan Vladimir says, what about a mansion filled with dominant vampire women and the men are submissive werewolves? Yeah, femdom horror.
Yeah.
Femdom horror. Let's see who else we got. Yes.
I'm writing a book soon with a female vampire motorcycle club.
Nice.
So awesome. I am going to be kind of tackling that subject here soon.
Rapid fire kink advice. Okay. Rapid fire kink advice. We're gonna start off slow and gonna get weird. Rapid fire kink advice.
Of course.
You tie up someone's and their arm goes numb. What do you do?
Yeah, you got to cut them loose there. As soon as you start getting numbness and stuff, you shouldn't have numbness. And there are ways to get someone tied down where their blood flow is not constricted, but you always have to look out for that. And by the way, if they don't say that they're numb, but their hands are showing like that they're starting to get red or purple or they're starting to puff up or whatever, then whether they say it or not, you gotta get them out of it.
Okay. Rapid fire kink advice.
Okay. Yes.
Rapid fire kink advice. A partner insists on recording your scene, but you're not comfortable. What do you say? Or
well, I mean, if it's a no, it's a no. So that's it. That there is no discussion. There is no discussion there. Once someone says I'm not, particularly with something like that, where you're going to record it and keep it or whatever, that's a shame. You might be able to discuss this at a different time or a different setting. You might be able to say, oh, I'll do it if I'm in lingerie, but I don't want to be nude, whatever. But if someone says no, particularly something like that, then that's it. That's the end of the discussion.
Good advice. Rapid fire kink advice. A kinkster shows up way too high. What do you do?
Yeah, you send them home. Because I played with someone one time who took I guess she had one of those monster drinks or something. This is not even high or, it wasn't cocaine or whatever.
All energy out. Dirk Hooper, Dirk Hooper, you're the best.
But it was a deal where, like, I was using some pretty heavy implements on her, and she just wanted more and more and more. And she was also fairly inexperienced and probably didn't understand the ramifications of going, one step further or one step further beyond that. And so I shut the thing down. And she wasn't high. She had just taken, something that was amping her up. And she was not looking out for her as much as I was. And if you're in charge, or God forbid, you're playing with someone who's in charge that's super high, then that's the end of the scene. And I'm not talking about, you had a drink, or you had, you had a half a gummy or something. That's not what I'm talking about. You're in this scenario that you're presenting is that they're way too high. If they are, you gotta, your pain, if you're the dominant in this scenario, then your mind is not where it needs to be to conduct the scene. You're not capable of looking out for your partner like you should. And if you're the submissive, you're not able to process pain or your emotional response the way that you should. And so that's also a terrible way to play. So in both scenarios, you wait until they're not so high to play.
One thing I want to say definitely though is clarity is sexy. Knowing, like, if someone seeing the dungeon, people out there. I went to Mischief Manor yesterday, and seeing people knowing what you're doing in the moment, presence, because I'm present in the moment, and I'm slapping an ass with your book, Dirk.
By the way, I'm going to have hardback versions of those books soon.
Oh, good.
Which should be great for spanking.
All right, rapid fire kink advice. A friend met someone else online and wants to give them all their money. Femdom. What do you tell them?
Yeah, that's just silly. I mean, look, one of the
all right. That's an
one
answer.
one of the things that, and by the way, I know plenty of Femdoms and Fen subs who do know what they're doing, and they're educated, and it's consensual, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But with that said, there's also a lot of charlatans out there that are not concerned about you at all, and are looking to, their only relationship with you is to take your money. You have to look out for those people. But that's not all people who are involved in Femdom. Financial domination is a legitimate kink,
yes,
and a legitimate practice, but
and
it should be done.
It
should be done within a relationship. It should be done within a relationship, whether that's a long distance relationship or it's one where you're, you live with them or whatever. But it should be done. It should be done within an actual relationship, not just, a fly-by-night operation.
And please check out, upcoming soon to your kinky friends, we have an article. It's not written by me, but it's all about financial domination. Please check it out. Okay, rapid fire kink advice. A kinkster just starts trauma dumping in the middle of the play. How do you pause or reset?
I had one submissive that told me that playing with me was more therapeutic for her than any of the psychiatrists or counselors that she had seen up to that point. I have been in many scenes where stuff comes out, and one of the elements with BDSM, whether you're doing psychological play or you're doing physical play or whatever, is that it can bring that sort of stuff out. Instead of saying that you've ruined the scene or something, realize that that can be a very powerful thing, and that someone who is giving this stuff to you is giving it to you because of either the scenario that you're in, or that they trust you, or that whatever you're doing is addressing this stuff in a safe environment. Let me propose to you that, number one, that you stop the scene that you're doing, and that, number two, that you realize that that is the scene, that this reaction that you're getting is the actual scene, and that you tack toward that instead and deal with whatever it is that the submissive or your partner is putting on you at that time, because you can always go back to the spanking or whatever later, but the stuff that they're sharing with you is huge and so much more important than anything else that you're doing at that time.
What about you? You're at a public munch and someone starts touching you without consent. What do? How do you handle that?
I mean, if you're the dominant, you make sure that, I mean, depending on who it is and what the scenario is, you try to be nice and very direct about it, and make sure that, they don't touch your partner. And if they don't do that, then, it's incumbent upon you to make them stop. Whether that means physically you do something, you go grab the dungeon master, or you grab a friend or whatever and say, this person is going outside of the deal. If you're a submissive, it's very difficult. I was in a situation where I was in Belgium at a place called Fetish Project, and I was playing with a dominatrix, and I'm in the middle of a scene. And while I'm in the middle of the scene, someone steps on my foot. And I don't think that the person who was with me even knew that it happened, and I was in the moment, so I don't want to get up and go, "Hey, get the fuck off my foot, pal."
Yeah.
Because I'm enjoying what she was using a single toe whip on me. And so, I don't want to get out of that. But, submissives probably get into a lot of situations like that. And so, you have to, if you're the dominant, you really got to look out for the people you're playing, particularly if this was a scenario where we were on a boat, like a large party boat, and there were hundreds of people in there. It was very packed. And, people talk about, scenes in movies where like everything you can imagine is going on. That was happening on this boat. I mean, everything there's never been a movie made where as much bullshit was going on. What's that?
That could capture that moment.
Yeah. I mean, it was amazing. Like everywhere you look, there's another scene going on, and there's, there's penetration, and there's nudity, and there's intimacy, and it was crazy. It was crazy. So it's not surprising that she didn't catch it, but if you're a submissive, there's probably a lot of things that you may not be able to deal with in the moment. But in that case, if it had been in a dungeon or something, maybe I'll go talk to someone after the fact and say, hey, this person did this thing. Honestly, I don't even know who did it, because I was in my own world. I was spacey, and I was in deep space, subspace.
Now, AI and kink. How have you been involving with AI, especially as a writer, as an artist?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a tech guy. I like, I have to be. I mean, everything I do actually is involved in one way or another with computer and technology. So I'm certainly as hell not going to know, I'm going to not know what's going on with AI. So let's say 3 or 4 years ago, I looked into AI art to see what was happening. So I played around with it. And one of the things that I learned is that it's fascinating what you get, because the computer will come up with all kinds of, that program will come up with all kinds of stuff that you don't put in there. And some of it is beautiful. Some of the things that it generates are beautiful. But the vast majority of that stuff, 95% of it, is not what you want. It's like, I want this thing. Please give me this thing. And you will never get it. You will never get that thing, which is frustrating to me and informed me as an artist. It's like, I have this special ability that other people don't have, even people who have access to AI art, which is the ability to fully capture what's going on in my mind. I can bring that out and put that on a page. AI can't do that. And I'm not sure if AI will, no matter how good it gets, I'm not sure if AI will ever do that.
Let me ask you this. If, as an artist, and when I use the term artist, I mean, painting, writing, drawing, singing, artist, you know what I mean? Yeah. So
a creative person.
Do you think AI is making artists less human?
I don't think it's making artists less human. I think that
I would think about like society and how, all the society.
I think that
and everything like that.
Real artists are not using AI. People who wish they could draw are using AI for their own personal stuff, or they're using it to create pretty pictures to post things on the internet, or they might be using it to create art for their covers or whatever. But people who are using AI for art are not artists. They're prompters. They're prompting stuff. Nothing wrong with that, but you're not an artist. You're not an art. If you're using AI to create art, you're no more an artist than if you call up your local pizza parlor and you tell them, I want pepperoni and I want sausage and I want green peppers and I want extra sauce on my pizza. And then 20 minutes later, someone delivers it to you at your home. You're no more an artist than you are a chef. You're not a chef. You requested these things, and the place that makes it are the people who are the chef. They're the ones who put the ingredients together. They're the people with the experience. They're the people with the facility to do it. They're the people who had the driver and the car that brought the pizza to you and the box. They're the people with the expertise. You're just someone who requested something. So
would you rather? We're going to play would you rather. I'm sorry. What?
So
you have more to say about the pizza?
So I'm saying that people who are using AI are not artists. People who are using AI are not writers. AI is a tool, and if it's used as a tool, then cool. If it is doing the entire job for you, then you're not an artist and you're not a writer. You're a prompter. You're prompting things. And the work of people before you is what led to what is being produced.
Would you rather? You have to choose one or the other. Okay. In a scene, would you rather have it all psychological or all physical? If you had to choose.
Psychological.
Okay. Would you rather? You have to choose one or the other. All right. Would you rather experiment with a new kink or just do the standards?
Experiment. That's one of the great things about playing with new people, is that they have their own kinks and they're like, hey, let's do this. And it's like, oh, I've never done that before. Hey, that's awesome. That's the coolest thing ever, is that I get to do something new. I hope I do that for the rest of my life. I hope I get to do new shit forever.
Yeah. Yes. I'm going to write that down. That could be your quote.
And I like doing the old stuff too. The new stuff is fun.
Of course. Of course. Would you rather attend a massive fetish event with strangers? You know no one, Dirk. No one. Or a private party with close friends. A small, very small private party with close friends.
Yeah. I mean, I just talked about something where I literally knew no one. I went to that fetish project in Belgium. I don't know anyone there. I was there as an art guest. I had my pictures hanging up on the wall. And I met people when I went there who were running the show. And I enjoyed it. But I would much rather play with people in a party with close friends in small groups. And I am not an outgoing person. You may not know that from talking to me on this. It's very different. Like if you put me in a party situation, I'm not the sort of person that has a drink in his hand and wanders around the party and talks to people. What I do is I go find a corner someplace and I sit in that corner and I let people come to me because I'm not outgoing in that way. I would prefer for people to come find me and have intimate conversations with them, or to be in a small group of people and do things rather than be in a big crowd. And I'm certainly not a performer type person. I don't like to have the microphone, that's
okay. Well, in this case, in this next, would you rather, you're a performer type person, and who are you going to play? Would you rather, you have to be one or the other. Would you rather play the villain in a BDSM scene or the hero in a BDSM scene?
It's fun to play the villain.
It is fun to play the villain.
It's fun to play the villain.
You dumb out, you get all evil.
Yeah.
Your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I think it's more fun to play the villain.
All right. Would you rather have your vanilla friends accidentally find your toys, or your kinky friends actually accidentally find your tax returns?
To be honest with you, my vanilla friends, they know what I'm into. If they found it, it wouldn't be that big a deal. So I guess don't mess with someone's money. The bigger tragedy would be, someone finding, my personal bills or my business or something, for sure. But my mom is 89 years old. She knows what I'm into. So it wouldn't be a surprise if she found my toy bag and all of my stuff. And my friends also know. I don't really share with them the specifics, but it wouldn't be a surprise to them.
Okay. Would you rather?
They just laugh about it, to be honest.
You personally, Dirk. Would you rather sensory deprivation, it's blindfolds, earplugs, or sensory overload, feathers, ice, hot wax?
Yeah, probably sensory deprivation, because I like to get it when I'm submissive. When I play the submissive role, I like to retreat into myself. So blindfolds and earplugs is definitely something that would do that. Although I am very visually oriented, and I'm also very much into touch. So if you take those two things away from me, it's more like it's a punishment.
One thing that I'm focusing on a lot these days, self-care rituals.
Great, yeah.
Every morning I wake up, first thing is water. I don't turn on my phone. I don't look at my phone.
That's what that is right there.
Power, right on. And I try to get some protein real quick, but I exercise and I meditate and I say positive things, force myself to write my own narrative for the day.
Yeah.
Because I want control. I'm the author of my day. Right. So I have this whole ritual that I go through. What are your self-care rituals?
Yeah, you mentioned several of them that I'm into. As I get older, both as someone who's playing in the scene and also just as a human being, I realize how important it is to take care of yourself. And so some of the things that I do are exactly what you do. I like to take walks. That's one of the most. I started doing that regularly in like 2017, I think it was. And that has been a huge thing for me, both mentally and physically, to go out and take walks. I started doing meditation as well. Meditation is something that has been so helpful to me because I'm the type of person that my mind is working on me constantly. My mind. So I need a break from that. And meditation allows me to live in the moment, and meditation has also taught me at times when I'm stressed out or whatever, how to get back to that kind of, just taking a breath and living in that thing and listening to the birds and, slowing everything down. That's very helpful. It's also helpful when you go to sleep to shut your damn mind off.
How about we start a kinky meditation company? Right. You could get professional dominatrices to guide the meditation. I think kinky meditation is awesome. I love that idea. And we could hypnotize everybody to make us rich.
Hey, listen. Right. I have done. I have narrated several fiction and nonfiction books, audio books. And I'm very much into ASMR. So I love the idea of combining BDSM with stuff like ASMR or meditation. I think that's a really great idea. And I don't know if people would necessarily, pay to listen to me talk, but they would definitely pay to listen to women talk. So, that would definitely be a good business plan there.
Okay, we're gonna get silly, Dirk. Kink Olympics. If you had a Kink Olympic event, you're gonna make it up. You can do anything you want. Kink Olympics. What is a Kink Olympic event?
I have seen this in videos where they will get two submissive men and they will tie their balls together and have them do tug of war. That would be a good kink event.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
How about that?
Okay. Yeah, it's a great one. All right. Well, we've done the ultimate kinky fantasy last time. Has that changed at all? Have your ultimate kinky fantasy changed? We do evolve. It's been like a year.
I don't know. I don't know necessarily. I don't even know necessarily what my fantasy was before.
Well, let's start.
You'd have to go back and check it
out. Let's say you have endless resources. You can go anywhere in the world. You can do anything you want with anybody. I'm going to take myself out. What is your ultimate kink? Yeah,
for me, I would say that I don't necessarily, you say I could do it with anyone. I'm not really into celebrities or anything. I would just want to be with someone that I love. And my ultimate kinky fantasy, if I had tons and tons of money, is to create like the ultimate dungeon space where, my idea of kind of designing a location would be a combination of like Darth Vader's home and Tron. So it would be like brutalist concrete with like lava running through the middle of it and neon lights everywhere. And I would have, since it's a dungeon, I would have different rooms. So I'd have like a medical room, and I'd have like a school room, and I would have like a torture chamber and maybe a jail room, and then like a main area where it would have all of the cool BDSM equipment that I can't afford and wish I could. And then, maybe a few rooms where you could stay the night, and, maybe also offer that place as a kinky Airbnb, or have play parties there or something. That would be the ultimate fantasy for me, is to have just an amazing, amazing, safe, fully stocked joint to play in, and also, invite partners or my friends or the local community to play in. That would be my ultimate fantasy.
Beautiful. Rapid fire recommendations. Recommend a film.
A film. Wait a minute. Let me think on that for a second. Let's come back to film. Something will hit me here in just a second.
Recommend a book.
I'm reading The Magicians. Yeah, read my book. I'm reading The Magicians by Lev Grossman. That's really good. And I just finished a book by Chuck Wendig called Wanderers, which is a horror book about kind of the end of the world. And that was excellent. Really good. It kind of made me misty around the end, which is always a mark of a good book. You know, it's kind of an epic. I really enjoyed that. So there's 2 books. The Magicians may be the best books I've ever read. I haven't finished it, but it's really good by Lev Grossman.
I've also been hearing. I want to do a whole show on esoteric kink. No, I'm sorry, existential kink. That book. I have not finished it. I actually just started.
I have a book. I have a movie. It's called I'm not going to remember. It's got Johnny Depp in it. I think it's called The Ninth Gate or something.
Oh yes, Roman Polanski, The Ninth Gate.
It's Roman. Yes, that's it.
Looking for a book.
I just watched that about a month ago, and it got me on because he's basically like he's looking for a book, but he's basically like a private investigator. But he's a private investigator for books, which I thought was like one of the coolest things I've ever heard of. And he goes down this rabbit hole of trying to find these very rare books. And it's such a good movie. It's so good. Yes, Roman Polanski.
Excellent movie.
It was really, really good. And I mean, that was a movie from 25 years ago, but I just saw it.
Word association game, and this is a different version of word association game because you're a writer and I'm a writer, and there's certain words for the human anatomy that writers use that I make me cringe. Actually, there's one called that's moist. I'm starting not to. I don't want to use profanity too much in my life anymore. I'm trying to cut it down. So every time I drop an F-bomb or I say the S word or anything like that, I say moist, and then I get spanked. Literally set up at home. So I'm going to say a word. You say the first thing that comes to your mind. This is rapid fire, okay? Right. Moist.
Wet.
Shaft.
Penis.
Crevice.
Hole.
Tulip.
Flower.
Chastity.
Device.
Splashing.
Wet again. Wet comes to mind again.
All right. That's all right. There's no wrong answer.
Liquid. Spanking. Wet. Nice.
Double-edged dildos.
Inventive.
Japanese porn.
Weird. And
Fire.
strangely
I was going to say
censorious.
Weird.
And strangely censorious. It's like, why is it always censored? They doing this craziest shit on the planet, and yet they blur out the genitals. What purpose does that serve? No, I got
a DVD of just Japanese porn trailers, just trailers for the porn movies, and like there was one called Rape Apartments. So these are apartments. It's just rapes happening in apartments, and everything is blocked out. But the movie is called Rape Apartments.
Right. The strangest, most obtuse, horrific porn that you can imagine. But the genitals are blurred out. Don't worry about having to see any genitals.
The level of creativity though is awe-inspiring when it comes.
It's amazing. It's much like Japanese animation.
Word association game. Fireplay.
Fun.
Wax play.
Intricate.
Piss.
Play.
And finally, we've reached the end. Scat.
Ugh.
All right. We're all looking for something. What do you want your kinky path to take you next, then?
At this point, it would be nice to find one partner to be with from now on. That's what I would like, someone to explore with from now on.
Love is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, and I have a lot of friends too. So, Dirk, I vouch for Dirk. So please hook me up. Anyone's interested? Yeah, give me Actually, as a creative, as an artist, Dirk, you've been an inspiration. I've told you this before. I'd say it again.
Oh, thank you.
From the hospital bed, seeing that you're writing and that your work. Before I was really deep into the kink community, when I was only like, someone on the sidelines. You know what I mean? You were very inspiring for me. You made me, taught me many things too. Just your work, not even before I even met you. You know what I mean? So I appreciate that. I recognize that, and I want to spread that.
Well,
so please, complete the sentence. You're very welcome. Complete the sentence. Life is
love.
Yes.
It's about love. It's about loving yourself and about loving other people. It's about being kind and building your community. I think life is love.
Life is love.
And that counts for you too. That means you have to also love yourself.
Definitely. Everybody, please go to yourkinkyfriends.com. Get 15% off all inventory at lockandlust.com. Go to the Patreon, patreon.com/YKF, and Cash App is YKF Panic with lowercase t. But please, the written word is extremely powerful. Sometimes this is all we have. This is the written word is the basis for everything you're experiencing pretty much right now in the modern world. It all stems from someone getting something in their mind, putting it onto paper. Dirk Hooper is one of these people. I'm glad that he's one of our kinky friends. Please pick up Dominatrix Boss. We found some other uses for it than just reading.
That's right.
So it's worth the money.
And Dominatrix Squad.
And Dominatrix Squad. You could use too. Oh, I was using books.
Hey, please go to Amazon, and you can get. I mean, you don't have to get the actual physical copy, but if you do read this, please leave me a review. I need reviews desperately need reviews because look, let me tell you something. Amazon will not push anything under 15 reviews. It's like the magic. It's like the key that unlocks any sort of algorithm where they will push the book to people. So until you hit 15 reviews, they're going to sit on that book. So, and I'm about halfway there. So if you do pick the book up, and I hope you do, then please leave me a review. It means so much on there. You have to leave it on Amazon. Please. And not just for me. Anyone who, if you like their work, please get on there and review their book. Because none of us that you're seeing on here is being published by, hardcore, all the big, producers or whatever. They're doing it themselves. We don't have teams of people that go out and grab, reviews and stuff. So we don't get that. Hitting that 15 to start with is not easy. I have over 100 on Dominatrix Boss. Dominatrix Boss is doing fine, but Dominatrix Squad has about 7. So I'm 8 away from getting there. I guarantee you once I get 15, I'll get 20 and 30 and 40. It'll be no problem. But you got to hit that 15. Go out there and review.
As soon as this is done, I'm going to write a review for Dominatrix Boss and Squad on Amazon. And on top of that, Goodreads, I'm going to hit Goodreads too. Kink helps kink, people. Seriously,
yes.
Kink helps kink. And that's
if you're reading anyone's kinky book, not just mine, if you're reading anyone's kinky book, none of it's being published by big companies and stuff. We need your help. And that's something that you can do for free. That's huge, which is to get out there and put your review on there.
We are providing a voice. We're providing a voice of the community. And by buying the book, by using your money, right, and your time and effort to buy the book and to leave a review, you are contributing to the kink community. You are the kink community. So thank you for that. Everybody, please go to get 50% off all inventory at lockedandlust.com. yourkinkyfriends.com specifically. Dirk, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, as always. And you're going to come back I hope you come back for the author circle. We got a new one coming up. We haven't had one in a while, but the YKF Author Circle is in full effect, and I got a assignment project for us to do.
Yeah, great. When is it?
I don't know. I got to talk to Kaz B. But I want
I'd love to be there.
Strange on. I would love to have you on. I'm looking to get Natasha Strange. She has a book called D is for Diaper, which is fun. Ayanna Justice would be great too. But everybody, yes, and we have a live show on the 27th. It's on a Saturday. We're gonna have. I'm gonna be doing book reviews with Dirk Hooper's Dominatrix Boss, and I'll probably get to the squad too. I could use both books. Seriously, you could. She's on the spanking bench, and you go like
do a Florentine.
Yeah, on both thighs, right? On
right?
Both thighs,
sure.
Both
and
double.
And
yeah.
Dominatrix Squad is about double the size.
Right on. So,
well, it's a little more substantial.
Nice. Dirk, it was so good having you on. Keep writing.
Oh,
Don't let that fire burn out, my friend.
I won't. I promise.
All right.
Thanks for having me. I love being on here.
Thank you. Everybody, please be cool, be kind, keep an open mind. Liberty Kink. Go heels.